right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. I am Cheska Cordero from Insightful Accountant and your host for today. Now, before we start, I want to go ahead and ask our question of the day, just as you guys are coming in and you guys are settling down in front of your computers, your phones, or your tablets. And for those already with us in the room, feel free to answer. Okay, so Janelle, this is my question of the day. I'm just kidding. We all know it's what is this? 4th of July is coming up, but I wanted to ask a question on that, but I was like, oh, that's a little too basic for me. So I asked this a few days ago to a few of the other webinars, and I wanted to ask it just because it's different for everybody. Like, what was the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I've received a lot of advice, but probably the best piece of advice is to fail, to not be afraid of fail.
Mm-hmm.
And because honestly, like we all naturally want to avoid that. We're afraid of making wrong decisions, making mistakes. But honestly, that's how we learn. And the more that we fail fast and learn from it, the better we get. So it's a very tough pill to swallow for a perfectionist like me. But I have learned that is definitely a great piece of advice.
I agree. It's like, don't let the fear of like striking out, right?
Yeah.
Stop you from doing anything that you need to do.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I think what's important is like the bounce back from
Mm,
that, from making
yeah.
the mistake, right?
100%. That's where you grow.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. It's great. I love that. All right, guys. Well, do not let the fear of striking out. Ooh, what is the full one? What is the full saying? There's like not don't let the fear of striking you out. Striking
Well,
out
what is it? If
stop
you,
you from
you'll
playing the
never,
game.
you'll never hit a home run if you don't you'll miss every swing you don't take, right? Is that what
Yeah,
you
there we
miss?
go.
You don't take. Yeah, I think that's true.
I love that. Okay. Anyway, just to get the ball rolling, good afternoon again, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Again, I am Cheska Cordero from Insightful Accountant and your host for today. Now, in today's marketing talks, we'll be talking about marketing strategies for lead generation with the wonderful Janelle Sikora. Now, I'll hand this off to Janelle in just a little bit after I cover a few of the housekeeping items. Now, as you know, there is no CPE for this as it is just a 30-minute webinar. If you have any questions, remember to enter them in the Q&A panel and remember to be specific. So to say, hey, Janelle, what do you mean? You got to ask, hey, Janelle, what do you mean by you can't let the fear of striking out stop you? Mainly because she might not get to your question right after you put it in there. I'll be sending you a copy of the slide deck and a link to the recording after the webinar. And it's also going to be up on our YouTube channel within about 24 hours. So if you want to go check that out over there, along with many other webinars that we've done in the past, might be of interest to you. I'll be putting the link to our YouTube channel right into our chat as well. And also, don't forget that we have many webinars for you every month, whether you're interested in practice management, marketing, everything tax, or all things QuickBooks, Insightful Accountants. That's something for you. You can check out all of our webinars that are available to you over on the educational webinars page on our site. And do not worry, I'll also be putting that link into our chat. And speaking of webinars, you guys better have registered for tomorrow because tomorrow is Insightful Accountants App Academy session following Scaling New Heights, where you can gain insights directly from leading companies like Guideline, cajabra. So Janelle is going to be there. Intuit, BuyAPay, and Makers Hub. So we'll be showcasing powerful solutions designed to streamline your workflow and enhance client value. So make sure to register for that. I'll be putting the registration link in our chat as well. And if you have not subscribed to our newsletter, join the tens of thousands of accounting professionals who rely on Insightful Accountant to keep them up to date on news and updates impacting today's accounting professional. We're rolling out all of those links for you and the copy of the slide deck throughout the webinar in case you might have missed it the first time I put it up there. So watch out for that in the chat. And Janelle, that is it for me. Welcome and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Cheska. It's great to be here. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. As Cheska said, I'm Janelle Sikora. I'm the co-founder of Cajabra, and I love all things marketing and sales. So today we're going to be talking about lead generation strategies. So if you're wanting to grow your business with the right kinds of leads, you're in the right place. Or if you're one of those firms that I talk to quite frequently who has more business than you know what to do with, but you still wish you had more business owners who were willing to pay you what you're worth on a monthly basis, you're also in the right place. What we're going to talk about today is just some very specific strategies for firms to attract and convert leads. It's one thing to attract them, but you also have to know how to convert them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too. And if you have questions as we go through, please put them in the Q&A and I will get to them just as soon as I can. So let's get started. Let's see. Okay. So what are we going to be talking about today? To get to the right kinds of leads, you have to have the right message. So we're going to start by talking about the power of targeted messaging. Everything starts with your message. That is the key to everything when you market your business. And of course, your message has to resonate with your ideal clients. So you have to know who they are. And then we're going to talk about the difference between organic and paid advertising and marketing strategies, because I have this conversation a lot, and especially lately. And I think it's really important to understand the differences and the advantages of having a little bit of both in your entire marketing strategy and how they work, and how to choose one over the other. So we're going to talk about those. And then we're also going to talk about when you are able to drive leads your way, whether it's through your website or another venue, how do you qualify them? And how do you qualify them, move them through your sales process, and then get them closed? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. My background is in sales. I don't want to date myself, but I have about 30 years selling. So that is something I'm very passionate about, that process. It's a conversation. It's not something anyone should ever feel uncomfortable or intimidated by. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then, of course, at the end of every webinar, I like for people to walk away with something really actionable. So we're going to kind of go back through and talk about where you start and a couple of things that you could walk away and do right after this if you wanted to. All right. Okay. So as I mentioned, we're going to start with messaging. Now, I know we've talked about messaging in the past, but this is worth spending a minute on because you're not going to be able to generate the leads that you want without the right message. It's as simple as two words. Words matter, and words are what sells. And if you aren't able to hook that ideal client and resonate with them, you're just going to sound like noise. And, just sounding like another accountant or another bookkeeper who just doesn't sound any different from the other ones that they've spoken to in the past. But the key with your messaging is how you craft it, right? This is true for all messaging. So it starts, with a sales conversation, but it's also true for your website. It's true for what you have on your Google business profile, your social media, whether it's posts or whether it's your social media page, blog posts, your sales presentations, videos, all of your public facing content, including your conversations. It's very, very important to craft your message so that it is about your client. And it's also important. This is true for that initial discovery conversation that you have with a prospect, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But in all of your marketing, your messaging should be crafted through your ideal client's lens, right? You want to figure out how to empathize with them and demonstrate that you understand, that you get what they're going through, you understand their challenges, and that you also can cast a vision and understand what success looks like for them. What I always tell people too is that it's really tempting to tell prospects what we do. I'll give you an example. So last week we were at Scaling New Heights, my partner and I, and we had some people that would walk up to our booth and say, "So tell us what you do." Well, it doesn't really make sense for me to talk about what I do if I don't know who I'm talking to, because frankly, people don't care about the nitty-gritty background of what I do. What they care about is the results they get. So the same holds true for you. So I want to give you an example. I want you to think about when you speak with prospective clients, whether it's through the written word, whether through video, or whether through conversation, that you are talking about results for your clients. Remember, they don't care about the recipe, they care about the whole meal. And I'll give you an example. Like, let's just say you have a prospect that comes to you and you're talking to them about an ongoing monthly engagement, but it's going to take a lot of work to fix their messy books to get them onto the right path. So it would be very tempting to say, well, we've got to, we've got to reconcile this, we've got to do this, we've got to do that, all of the tech speak that makes sense to you. But think about what they want. What they really want is peace of mind. They don't want to wear an orange jumpsuit. And they don't want to worry about how to make a smart business decision. So when you're talking to a new prospect about, let's just say, an ongoing monthly engagement, and they've got a mess on their hands, and you're like, oh, how am I going to get them up to speed? Don't focus on telling them how you're going to do that. Focus on telling them about the results that you're going to get for them. And if it's going to take, some cleanup work to get them where you want them to be, and it's going to be more money that first year, that's totally okay. That you can call that an advisory fee for your first year. But really focus on the results and what you're doing, how those results are going to look for them. Also, along with that, another important thing to keep in mind for messaging is making sure that you're using client-centric language. In other words, layman's terms. For example, I've heard the term FP&A a lot. Well, you and I know what FP&A means, financial planning and analysis, right? Because this is the industry and the space we live in. If you're talking with a restaurant owner, or you're talking with, the owner of an architectural firm or whatever, they don't know what FP&A is, and they really don't care. They want to know what it's going to do for them. So think about the words that you use and how people are going to interpret them, and that will really help you with your messaging to be able to capture the correct clients, or the clients that are ideal for you. Now, I've talked a lot about how to identify ideal clients in the past, so we're not going to rehash that. You can go back and look at some prior marketing talks webinars, but this does bear repeating. So it's very important to target your message to the ideal clients that you want. So take time, if you haven't yet, take time to sit down and literally document who your ideal clients are. A lot of firms have niches, some don't, that's okay. But I want you to think about, do you have a subset of clients in a specific niche? Or is it a service line? What is it that you're really good at, that you enjoy doing? And then who is that ideal client? If you had someone, when we get off this call today, if you had someone waiting to talk to you, who would that person be? Would it be a restaurant owner? Would it be someone, do you just want to own your geography, like your hometown? That's okay too. But think through, what are their problems? What are their pain points? What's their biggest fear? And then what are their secondary challenges or pressing concerns? And then make sure that you tie an emotion to it so that you understand how they feel. Are they overwhelmed? Are they frustrated? Are they vulnerable? And then what does success look like for them? So once you are able to identify that ideal client, then you can go back and you can craft that message that we just talked about. Okay. All right. So let's spend a few minutes on organic versus paid strategies. So once you have your message, once you know who your ideal client is and you're really dialed in on that, and then you've crafted your key messaging components, then it's time to think about, if you're wanting to bring leads into your business, one of the things you have to think about is, what are my goals? And sometimes I will talk with firms and they'll say, you know what, my goal is I want to double my business by the end of this year, or I want to grow by 100,000 or 200,000. And so if there's a sense of urgency around the revenue component, you're going to want to definitely focus on some paid strategies, and we'll talk about that. You're also going to want to focus around organic strategies. So organic marketing strategies are no cost, they're free. They take a little bit longer. We're going to talk about what some of those strategies are. And the difference really is speed to lead, right? So if you are okay with building this marketing engine that is going to differentiate you, maybe even help you become a thought leader and drive the right kind of business to you over time, you're going to want to have a really good organic marketing strategy in place. But again, if you are really focused on that speed to leads, you're going to want to definitely layer in some paid strategies. So let's talk organic for a minute. Some of the types of organic marketing strategies, here's a basic one: content marketing. Blogging is a great example. If you have a blog and you enjoy writing, I strongly suggest getting a copy of the book, They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan. Best book I've ever written, I wish, read about blogging. And he really walks you through the point of a blog. The point of a blog is from a lead generation standpoint, the point of a blog is you answering questions that your clients ask. So again, you've got to know your clients, you've got to know what their pain is. And you guys are in front of clients all day long. You're hearing the same questions over and over. Make a list of those. There have to be 10 or 20 or 30. And then you can write a blog post that is the answer to each one of those questions. The reason this is so important is because when people are wondering how to solve a problem they have, when they feel that pain, guess what they're doing? They're going to Google, they're typing in that question. If you've got a lot of content out there that answers that question, you're going to be more likely to be served up in their search. Another form of content marketing is social media. And my recommendation is always to leverage the platform where your ideal clients hang out. If you are 100% focused on construction and restaurants, LinkedIn is not going to be your best bet. If you are 100% focused on just small business, like entrepreneurs in general, you absolutely need to be on LinkedIn. If you're focused on law firms, you need to be on LinkedIn. So understand where your ideal audience hangs out, and that's where you need to really focus your social media. Email marketing, we've talked a lot about that in the past, along with social media. But that's another form of content marketing, especially when you bring someone into your sales process and you're like, this is perfect. This would be a great client. For whatever reason, the time isn't right for them. Doesn't mean you're not the right fit now. It means that you're not the right fit now, but it doesn't mean that you're not the right fit for tomorrow. So a very important part of organic marketing is making sure that you have a nurture campaign in place so that when someone gets to that point of going through the sales process with you, but you just don't get them closed, you've got to continue to nurture them, because if you're the one that's in front of them and in their email box when they get frustrated with their current service provider, or they need more, or you're serving up content that their other provider is not, and then they see that value in you, that is going to convert a lead over to you. But these things take time, which is why organic marketing strategies are very, very important to differentiate you and to add value to your leads. They do take a little more time. So another form of organic marketing is search engine optimization. You all have heard of SEO. And this is simply optimizing your website to rank higher in search terms, just for specific relevant keywords. Now, SEO is not always free, right? You can only do as much as you can do free. That can also be a paid strategy, because if you want to pay someone to manage your SEO so that they're constantly monitoring the Google algorithms and the keywords and watching your competition and what they're showing up for, and ensuring that you are showing up for certain search terms at the top of the rankings, then you pay for that service. But SEO can be maximized and optimized at little to no cost if you're just doing simple things like writing blog posts with your main keywords in them. If you're using those in social media, if you're getting Google reviews trickling in on a regular basis, if you optimize your Google business profile, that will help you with SEO. Okay, two other forms of organic marketing that I want to talk about, and we'll talk about paid. This is simple: referrals and networking. I think probably about half of the accountants and bookkeepers I work with are really good at networking, and the other half are like, I really don't enjoy that, which is totally fine. If you like networking, I strongly recommend it. If you are serving a niche like restaurants, construction, whatever that niche may be, strongly recommend networking, getting into their associations that they're involved in. And becoming an expert there and offering value through those associations. And regardless of whether or not you like networking, you should have a very good referral strategy in place. Now, I love referrals. They're great, but I like to say they're sort of the icing on the cake because they are not predictable. So while referrals are great, if your entire business depends on referrals, you don't have a very forecastable business, but you're all accountants and you know that. Let me check chat. I think I see something popped in here. Nope. Okay, we're good. Oops. Let me go back. There was one more thing I wanted to talk about. All right. Okay, let's see here. Now, let's go up. Okay. Sorry, I'm navigating a different screen than I'm used to. Get out of that. Okay. Okay. Email marketing, we've talked about that. However, what I do want to touch on, and we've talked about this in prior conversations, however, I want to touch on this today, lead magnets. I already covered nurture campaigns, so I'm not going to spend any more time on that, but I do want to mention lead magnets and the importance and how that connects with email marketing. You should always have some sort of valuable free content that you're willing to give away, whether that's a checklist, an ebook, a downloadable PDF, a video, something that you're willing to give away in exchange for an email address. However, it's not that simple. What you want to do with that email address, if you're actually going to try and convert them into business, is you have to follow up that downloadable asset with a sequence, leading them to do something, leading them to get into that first step of your sales process, which in many cases is to schedule a complimentary conversation. If they get through that sequence of emails that go out that's triggered based on them downloading a downloadable PDF or accessing a video, if they get through that sequence and they still haven't booked an appointment with you, they should fall into a nurture campaign. This is organic marketing. It takes time, it takes strategy, but when you build it up, trust me, I've done this. I've done this even in my sales world. It works. All right. I've beat that enough. So I want to talk a little bit about paid. So what are some paid marketing strategies? Pay-per-click, right? This is obvious. Pay-per-click ads on Google. That's very, very common. Google ads are great when you're focused on a specific geography. They're much more expensive and much more difficult when you're focused nationally. So if your niche is restaurants and you just want to work with restaurants, no matter where they are in the US, you're still going to want to focus Google ads if that's what you're doing more on a specific geography. And pay-per-click typically targets specific keywords or audiences, but don't underestimate the power of social media advertising. Also, that is more in the form of targeted ads on, whether it's LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. Let me tell you the difference between the two. If you are doing pay-per-click on Google, typically you're going to get a higher quality of lead. The reason is because that is people have intention. If they respond to a lead, if they respond to a Google ad, that typically means they have intention to buy. If you are spending money on social media advertising, that's more of an interrupt, because if you think about what's happening when people are on their phones or on their iPads or whatever, they're scrolling. And when they see something that they're interested in that interrupts their train of thought, that's a good thing, right? That's an ad. But a lot of times when they respond, they don't have intent to buy. It's because you interrupted their process. So it's a different message when that lead comes to you. And then you probably have heard of retargeting. Retargeting is just when you have like a pixel on your website so that if someone's visited your website, that can be connected with, let's just say Facebook as an example. So Facebook will know then to show ads to people who have visited your website. So if you've ever wondered why you're, out there, let's just say you went out to a certain website looking at handbags or clothes, of course, that's my world, right? And then I show up in Facebook and I see all those ads, that's retargeting. But the most important thing is to choose the right strategy. It depends on your budget. It depends on your audience. It depends on your goals. You may not need any paid strategy, but you may need, and in most cases, I always recommend if you're wanting to grow, you need some sort of combination between paid and organic marketing strategy. Okay, let me just check chat really quick. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Let me make sure I didn't go too far. Okay. All right. Now that you know how to drive leads into your business, I want to talk about what you do when they get there, because you can send traffic to your website all day long. You can advertise on LinkedIn or Facebook or Google, or you can be putting the best content out that converts people. But if you don't know how to qualify them through your sales process and you don't know how to close them, it does you no good. So one thing that I work with a lot of accountants on that isn't obvious to me, it's obvious that this is how I've been trained as a salesperson. But I really want to impress upon you the importance of your discovery, asking the right questions. If this should be your first step today, if you haven't already done this, create a template, create your own template so that when you are talking with a prospect, that you know what questions to ask. I am surprised at how many accountants don't have a template. And I'm also surprised at how many accountants basically just ask very surface level questions. I know because I've been on the recipient end when we moved 3 years ago and I needed to find an accountant, a new accountant. I was surprised at how many accountants I called that did not ask me second level questions. And the importance of that is that you're really digging in, wanting to understand um, like a deeper level of question or a deeper level of where your prospect is at. And you're also wanting to draw some emotion out of there. One thing that I always tell people too is it's easy to get really excited when you ask a question of your prospect and they give you an answer and you're like, yes, I'm so excited they said that because I've got the perfect solution. It is so tempting to stop right there and then just start talking to them. Don't do that. Create a discovery document. I'm actually in the process of creating one myself right now for all of you guys as a swipe file that'll be, in our community eventually here. However, create your own template and put questions in there like things like, what are your goals? What are your top 2 goals for this year? Okay, great. Those are your goals. Well, what would that look like for you and your business if you achieved those goals? All right. Well, what are your 2 obstacles? Why do you think those are your 2 obstacles? How is that impacting your business? Be sure and get into those second level questions. They're super important. And then remember this too. I also work with a lot of firms where when a lead comes in and they go through the discovery process, um, there's way too much time between when that first conversation and the proposal that goes out and then the follow-up, way too much time. I will tell you as a professional salesperson, time kills deals 100%. So what's very important in your messaging and in your organic marketing, as well as, any marketing that you do, help your prospects understand how do they do business with you? What's your process? What's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? And what is that next step? Always be closing to the next step. You don't have to worry about closing the deal. Always be getting them to the next step in your process. Okay. And then, of course, your accountant, so this is probably your favorite slide. You're going to want to measure results, right? And you're going to, I want to set expectations. So when I say measure results, marketing is more than just numbers. I will tell you, as a salesperson that's totally focused on revenue generation, marketing is a little bit more than that. But you should be using analytics tools like Google Analytics, social media insights, just to monitor things like how much traffic is coming to my website, how many leads am I getting, what are the conversions look like, what's my ROI? But I'm going to tell you, if you're focused on organic marketing, you're going to need to give it at least a year before you can even begin to measure ROI. It's much, much easier with paid. And then some of the key metrics that you can be looking at are, how many people are visiting my website? How many people are downloading my lead magnet? How many people are clicking on my call to action button and actually scheduling a discovery call with me? And then of all the leads that we've talked to this year, how many of them have closed? What's my conversion rate? Okay. And then I talked a little bit about ROI, but I can't emphasize this enough. With paid advertising, it's going to take at least 4 months roughly to see, to be able to measure those results. With organic, it's going to take you about a year. You've got to get into it, get consistent, and just know that the results will be there. I've proven it time and time again. Just be patient. It takes time, and don't get discouraged, and don't get burned out. Bite off what you can and be very consistent with it. All right, we're coming close to time here, so I'm gonna wrap up. So where do you start? Definitely, I'm going to reemphasize the discovery document and making sure that you've got more than just surface level questions in there. You really want to dig in and get to those second and third level questions. But first, review your messaging. Does it resonate with your ideal clients? Do you have an elevator pitch, if you will? I kind of don't like that term, but do you have like the same message that you give out each time? What's on your website? Does it resonate, or does it sound like every other accountant and bookkeeper out there? Define your audience. Who is your ideal client? And then choose your strategies. again, I said this a few times, but I can't emphasize it enough. Start with a mix of both organic and paid if your budget allows. If your budget doesn't allow, start with organic marketing strategies and then work in paid when you need that speed to lead. And then be sure to track, find out what's working. Use analytics, understand what's working, and then make adjustments. You're going to need to tweak and make adjustments as you go. Also seek help. You guys are accountants, and asking you to create and actually implement a marketing plan would be like asking me to do a tax return, and nobody wants me doing their tax return, trust me. So I always tell people, outsource what you don't have expertise in. And then also make sure if you don't have a referral strategy in place, definitely need a referral strategy in place. Always be networking and network strategically. Make sure that you're attending industry events and joining local business groups if you're looking to grow leads that way. But also, in addition to asking for referrals, ask for those Google reviews, because that's very helpful too, and that's social proof. And the mass majority of people will do business with somebody who has Google reviews, positive Google reviews out there. All right. So as I wrap up today, we've covered a lot, and I would love to offer you that if you have questions, or if you just want to strategize for a little bit, or if some of this resonated with you and you've got some questions about it, go out to my website. It's cajabra.com. In the top right-hand corner, there is a little button that says schedule a no pressure call. For a 25-minute call. You can book that with me, and we can put our heads together, and I can get you going in the right direction. With that, I will wrap up 1 minute over, but if anyone has questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Oh, I do see. Okay, what in your opinion and experience is the best mix of lead gen activities as a % of your time or budget? SEO. Okay, so that 100% depends on your goals. 100%. So if you would like, book some time with me, and I can make a specific recommendation to you, but it is completely dependent upon your goals. Okay, so what you've shared about getting to the second level questions is great reminder. Thank you. I have folks say yes and then come back and put engaging on hold. I think it's because of the lack of the second and third level questioning. 100%, because you can go back and remind them of the conversation. Sometimes, people are really excited when you get into the heat of that conversation, but as time goes by, they forget, right? Just like when I don't know, broke your arm as a kid and you forgot how much that hurt because time passed. So yes, very, very good point. All right, I think that's all the questions. Cheska, I will turn it back over to you, and I really appreciate everyone tuning in. And again, feel free to hit me up for some time. I am more than happy to help get you guys pointed in the right direction.
All right. Well, thanks so much, Janelle, and everybody for taking some time out of your day to hang out with us. And right before we close out the webinar, remember that we have many webinars for you every month, including tomorrow's App Academy. So you can gain insights from leading companies like Guideline, Cajabra, with Janelle, Intuit, Vibe, and Makers Hub, and we'll be showcasing powerful solutions designed to streamline your workflow and enhance client value. And don't forget to check out and subscribe to our YouTube channel and newsletter so you don't miss out on news and updates that impact today's accounting professional. All right. Well, thanks for today, everybody, and we'll see you in next month's, in the next marketing talks. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Bye.